Wisconsin's favorite paleontologist is resurrecting the state's Iron Age.
Let's check out the extinct creatures of the McMillan Marsh. In the rolling landscapes of the American Midwest, the lush greenery conceals secrets from another era. Here in the heart of Wisconsin lies a place unlike any other, Jurustic Park. But do not be fooled by its name, for this is not a realm of prehistoric giants, but rather a sanctuary for creatures of a different kind. As we venture into this peculiar park, we are transported back in time, not millions of years, but to an age when iron behemoths roamed the earth. We will document the efforts of amateur paleontologist Clyde Wynia in his efforts to excavate and recreate as best as possible the now extinct creatures that inhabited the large McMillan Marsh near Marshfield, Wisconsin during the Iron Age. The flesh and bone of all the marsh creatures were ferrous metal, usually mild steel but occasionally stainless, high carbon, or other various types of more exotic alloys. Many of the iron species died out when farming and industry moved into the area in the mid-19th century. The creatures were often harvested for their parts that were then used in farm and industrial machinery. Overharvesting eventually led to the extinction of many species. Other species became extinct when acid rain caused them to rust over. Good rust inhibitors, which could have slowed the oxidation, were not readily available to these creatures to save them from the corrosive effects of increasing industrial pollution.
To learn more about these iconic creatures and to see some of the replicas that Clyde has created, let's take a look around this impressive park. If you dare enter this park, follow these simple rules. Smoke breathers, leave your butts here. Be sure to look after your children, otherwise their fate may be unknown. This is Oxide, a merciless attack dog. Oxide is independent, mean, tough, irresponsible, and incorrigible. He snacks on cats, lunches on pit bulls, and dines on any critter that crosses him. Watch out if he catches you doing something you shouldn't be doing, like running, screaming, or climbing all over things. Oxide handles security around here. He doesn't bite or chew or claw. He just sits on the offender until it repents. Let's meet the mastermind behind this menagerie of fantastical sculptures.
Where do you get your ideas for the art?
It happens every time I go off my meds. And
Of which he is.
my wife hides the meds, so the university has that campus in Marshfield, and they call their basketball team the Marauders. So they wanted a mascot for their team, so they asked me to make them a pirate, so I gave them a pirate similar to this one. That was very popular. People really liked it, so I thought, well, I'll make myself a pirate. And the head I made for it is this one right here. And I don't like that head even a little bit. So before I put it out here, ugly little creep, isn't it? And so before I moved it out here, I replaced the head on it.
Looks good.
That's a pirate. That's our new praise band. That's Tina and the Tomcats. You know, they're not good musicians, but they have so much fun, we just let them go to it. This is our resting spot in summertime. Try it if you like, won't hurt you any. Nice soft sandstone. We keep the ladies away from him, he's a womanizer. And that's a porcupine, half pig, half porcupine. I did a little experimenting a while back with some genetically modified ferris seeds and came up with all these hybrid plants. They bloom all winter. You don't need to feed them, you don't need to water them. Actually, the only care you ever give them, if you want to keep the nice patina, you do have to pee on them in the summertime. I bought my wife a ladder, she still won't do it. See the one with the helicopter blades? I put that up there some time ago, about 24 years ago, and it's been going ever since. Had to shut it down and do some work on the motor on it, but we're anxious to get it going again because we've got a deal with the hospital up here. We're going to use it as a backup for the ambulance helicopter. See, with 4 claws in the mouth, he can take 5 people. And of course, we're going to take the bomb off, put an oxygen cylinder on there. We'll have a good all-weather rescue system. Yeah, my wife wanted to be out here, so about 26 years ago when she retired, we put this building up for her. My wife and I did the wall up front too, but you could see the woman doesn't have a good eye for level at all. Calls it her hobbit house, so I hired 2 hobbits to stand out front here. You see that big tree down there?
Yep.
And right next to it is an angel with a dove. Well, that went up there some years ago, and then a couple summers ago, 2 ladies out here talking about it. Older ladies. One of them was looking at it. She says, I see that as a mother. She's lost a child. She's releasing its soul to heaven, and there's a tear in her eye. And the other lady said, Lydia, you know, that's not a tear, that's bird poop. Isn't that a touching story? This one went up here a few years ago, this dragon. I put that up there.
There are dragons throughout this realm. This beast stands tall, hoisting the American flag. Designed as an army dragon, it is now a naval dragon. See the Audi on the belly? The Protector looks over and defends Jurustic Park. People travel for miles to see this club. This behemoth has also made an appearance at the Milwaukee County Domes. The Marsh Dragon cleared the Marsh of Riffraff. That's riffraff speared on its 4-pronged trident. Visiting riffraff should keep a safe distance from this one. The fall dragon is a sight to see in any season. The gutsy dragon has an ominous appearance. This one is so ill-tempered they chain him up so he can't get at folks. Many of these colossal specimens have heights reaching over 20 feet tall. The spades atop the marsh cow are a built-in cooling mechanism. When it gets hot, she can flip over and dig herself into the muck.
I can show you some more up here. All right. Here's one I put up here about 9 years ago. His name is Art. Art articulated. Here's another one I put up here 9 years ago, a rooster. And I didn't realize it till I got it all done and out here. But if he sees a really neat chick walking, he gets all excited. Aren't you flattered? You know what a jabberwock is? Well, back in the 1870s, even before his time, Lewis Carroll wrote Alice in Wonderland, and he wrote this poem, Beware the Jabberwock. We found the remains of a jabberwock out here in the marsh. I dug it out, I gotta put that together. There's your river. They haven't changed much in 140 years. Here's a curiosity. This is a mixed breed of birds, a toucanary. 3/4 toucan and 1/3 canary.
It is curious to see these examples of interspecies crossbreeding, as they are extremely rare occurrences in nature. With the turtle-shelled bird dog, there is speculation that a large turtle emerged from the water to lay her eggs and was assaulted by a wild dog. Probably the same night, a large ostrich-like marsh bird had his way with her. The resulting offspring was an extremely rare tri-species with genes resulting in the combined features of turtle, dog, and bird. Unfortunately, it is sterile. There will be no more. Conversely, the ever-bearing pregnant turtle makes her appearance here. The almost 4,000-pound racing turtle still wins races despite his weight. You can bet on this race dog. The turtle's bell shell rings his victory song. This is a pot turtle, named for its materials, not its habits.
I'll show you folks something before we go any further. Pretty disgusting. It's a big embarrassment for us, but we have some frogs around here that have developed such crude social habits, we have to keep them around the corner. Recognize that, don't you? You have him use the trees over there, okay?
The frogs of the marsh were semi-amphibious because if they went in the water, they would sink. Therefore, they couldn't go through the normal tadpole process and so had to be brought into the marsh with this frog delivery stork. Over the years, these frogs adapted to their surroundings and developed great skills. The Kevorkian gunslinger always took the last shot. The marsh came alive when Betty and the bullfrogs performed. It should be known that Marshfield's town board meetings are held here. Today, there is a vote on what to do about the giant spiders. We heard one of the members was an arachnivist. Hopefully the others are anti-venom. You never know what you'll encounter here. It's recommended you wear insect repellent when at Jurustic Park.
Yeah, these are the marsh mosquitoes. Much worse last year. Oh, here's some I don't have to explain, folks, in your area, because you got so many of them over there, you recognize it right away, don't you? That's a dork. You bring any dorks with you?
A couple.
Yeah, you know, I thought so.
Yeah.
You like my sweetheart? She's not only good looking, she sings. We have her in quite a nice Norwegian girl. And besides good looks and talent, check that out. She does that with an 800-pound skirt. You know, I had a guy come out here about 8 years ago. I spent some time talking to him. Really intelligent guy, nice personality. Actually, he turned out to be a very honest lawyer. This is Abe Lawbender and he's paralegals. He's with Lawbender, Cheatham, Pettifogger, and Scum. Good bunch of guys, huh?
Yeah.
Somebody's been shooting at me. That's the original bird I put up there 30 years ago.
Other bird species soon flock to the marsh. Cheeky is a newer addition. An octonagon is a bird created on the theory that if 2 heads are better than 1, then 8 heads is better than none. This bird's favorite swimming style is the breaststroke. She must look out for the Wisconsin piranhas. They're vicious fishes. This one's mama got caught up with a scuba diver. He's a bit of a half-breed. Several anglerfish can be seen, complete with mermaid bait. The short shark and the sailfish can be found nearby. The shiny America Online fish was made with AOL sign-up discs received in the mail over a 3-week period in 1993. The sunfish and the rock bass demonstrate the aquatic life of the Iron Age. Many species inhabit these lands.
Here's a Japanese ceremonial turtle. Nice shell. Can't shut her up. Here, I should show that one. Come here. Put your toe just gently right on the rim. You feel that vibration? Mm-hmm. You can sit on it too if you like. We don't charge. There's a positron, or a primitive bird. She flies and sings. You ladies ever bungee jump?
No.
Okay. Well, if you ever do, just as a caution, wear a bra. Went from an A to a double D long in just 2 jumps. Isn't that something? Here's one that's got us concerned. Don't know if he developed some kind of a neurological problem or whether he'd been smoking something. Isn't that pathetic? And these doctors will come out here in the clinic and they don't have a clue. But Dr. Neal, he's a neurosurgeon up there, and he says it's springiform encephalopathy. It's a chronic rusting disease.
Jurustic Park has a wonderful cast of characters. Big Chomp is a fan favorite. This one is female. We can tell by the sound of her thigh. She is a bit of a whiner. There's a skeleton in the cage next to Big Chomp. At one point, by remote control, Clyde could turn his head, open and shut his mouth, blink his eyes, and even talk through a speaker. Fast Eddie Biscotti was a Norwegian gunfighter with an Irish accent in the marsh in the 1800s. He was fast. In 1888, a stranger rode into the marsh and challenged Eddie to a draw. They met in the Critter Corral at noon. They drew in unison, but in a split second, Eddie was distracted by his challenger's cleavage. His lust cost Eddie his life. He was shot in the heart and died instantly.
Finding this Marsh Mouse solved a major problem we had with these creatures. We wondered how the food chain could work when their teeth were too soft to chew each other. See the projection on the nose? A cutting torch. Of course they didn't have acetylene back then, but they could pump their bodies full of swamp gas, which they could use to cut each other up. This caused a lot of fires in the marsh and resulted in major flatulence problems, but the system worked.
There's a 9-point doe. I found this chain at the scratch yard. Somebody said he came out of a tavern up in Stratford. There's over 6,000 bottle caps in there. Started doing doctor drugs a while back, too. Here's one that's not funny. About 6 years ago, a Dr. Owen comes off in the clinic up here. What an absolute creep. Came out and commissioned me to make him this one. You can smile, lady. You don't have a prostate to check every time you walk in the door. I'll show you. You see the flying pigs over there? I've sold a lot of flying pigs, very popular things. But I want to do a little better, so last year I made a bi-ring flying pig and a jet propelled pig. You know, you give them a can of beans in the morning, stay up all day. I want to start a little Air Force base, training pigs how to fly. Have some wings to go on here. This one's going to fly in the recruits, the piglets for recruits. My most popular dog. Sold 94 dogs last year.
The presence of dogs can be felt everywhere at the park. The droopy-eared dogs around here are numerous. Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria. Though most are not fond of cats, including those in the dog pound. These dogs hunt. Einstein is a very wise hound dog. He can answer any yes or no question correctly every time and is never wrong. Simply push his head in the right direction.
Should you like this video and subscribe to Road Less Traveled?
giving 10 to 12 tours a day in the summertime, and the warm weather comes up. So you're meeting people from all over the world. They're in a good mood. Once in a while they're bad mood, and then they're funny. So not everybody loves me. Can you imagine that?
No.
Now my wife is a real angel, so I did a 3D portrait of her. She likes it, but she says I got her cup size wrong. Come on in. This one's Goofy got into the insecticides. There's a sad story. You see this frog? He's going blind. He's been playing with it too long. And you wonder why he needs glasses? Shame on him. Somebody gave me a dentist job and had to reupholster it. And got some long-legged horses for going through the marsh. Come on in. A while back, I made a down payment on this horse. A couple of years ago, he got a new hat. That's a magic hat. 4 baby robins flew out of there. Come on up. Here's a Happy Dog Sirs Diet Coke. Come on in. This is my gardening angel. Folks, I'll show you what my wife does with melted glass and fibers. The only thing I want to mention is, before you go in there, be very careful what you say in my wife's studio. The place is bugged. Come here. Stick your nose in there. My wife's husband made this for me. He's a jerk. Try this one. My wife, go ahead, try it. Here. My wife did the glass work in this one.
She does beautiful work.
Now try this one over here. Come over here, I'll show you. She's got torches in the next room. She makes all these glass beads by melting the glass on the flame, makes the beads into jewelry. She teaches a lot of classes in bead making. These are Pyrex, the oven glass. She makes those on a glass lathe. Now the University of Wisconsin has a campus in Marshfield, and they call their basketball team the Marauders. So here about 6 years ago, they wanted a mascot for their team, so they asked me to make them a pirate, so I gave them this pirate. This one's up at the University Center. My wife sent a picture. She's the one in blue. I've got several guest books. Through the years, people have filled those books in with the nicest comments. But I'll tell you one comment 2 years ago just blew me away. A guy wrote in there, "Thanks for talking my wife out of bungee jumping." A couple of years ago, my wife started making pickle forks.
That's what it was.
But she makes candy, ketchup bottle stoppers, hair noodles, does all the glass work in here. I never sell my big ones. Either keep them here or give them to local schools, parks, churches. This is the ones at our church, the dog park, Shirley's Household for battered women. All the schools in town have them. Hope Lodge for cancer patients, House of Valley for terminally ill patients, Chamber of Commerce. There's about 20 spots around town with my bigger ones that I don't sell. Well, we get all these people here, over 17,000 people a year now, in all those different countries. All the touring sites give us at least 5 out of, or almost the full 5 stars. And there were 7 different travel books. And the only book people ever gave me any grief are 3 guys came up from Kansas City Public TV. And all they do for public TV is they go all over the United States and they do stories like this. See, they got several books out on their travels. They came, they were here one day taking pictures, videos, and I thought they were such nice guys until I got a copy of the book they put me in. Look what they did to me. Gave me a nice 2-page color spread. Look what they called it. When lawyers go bad. I had no respect then, I get no respect now. Now you want my wife to show you some stuff?
Sure.
Let me go get her a minute.
Well, how did you and Clyde meet?
How do we meet? We met in hospital. He was working his way through school as a night orderly, where I was in nurses training. And I took a look at him and I said, oh, well, who's that? I think I need to know him. And I chased him till he caught me. And that's 66 years ago. We were not supposed to get along. He was from a farm in Wisconsin, and I was from Boston. My family had been in Massachusetts for eons, since the Mayflower, actually. But we were not supposed to get along because we were too different. But we did. It's been good. It's a wonderful journey. He is a wonderful man, and he's awfully good to me.
What's a year when you got this gorgeous thing?
I guess. All he does is give me compliments. Yeah, I keep cracking him.
Good for you. Go for it. Yeah, he just makes himself
You guys are so creative. This is awesome.
I grew up on a little farm, went to Cornell High School, and we didn't have any art class or anything like that around there. And I was so terribly introverted. I didn't even know the kids out there. We're 3 miles out of town, and I'd jump on my bike and bike into town because I got sick riding the school bus for over an hour in the morning because I was one of the first ones on the bus. And so I just gave that up and started riding my bike into town. And but I didn't get to know many of the kids. I was so bashful in that they just never really knew the kids. I had a couple of friends there but so yeah, I didn't know many of them around there. I wouldn't think of asking a girl from the high school out or anything.
You know, when I met him, it was a challenge for all of my class. Let's go see Clyde and make him blush, which we all did, because he was so shy. He could not say 2 words easily. But I corrupted him. And that was good. So he was extremely shy and withdrawn. Being a lawyer, you would think, oh my gosh, He did not like court work or doing trials or anything like that. So he had a nice office practice doing real estate and estate planning, and that was nice and quiet, and he didn't have to get out and be dramatic. He retired in 98, I think, yeah. But it just kind of happened. We had been out to visit our daughter in Seattle, and we had seen an oxygen tank hanging outside a shop where there was a lot of artsy birds. And it was a bell, and that kind of pushed some buttons in him, and he came home and made that bird that flies down there. What was fun about that was before he made it into a bird, bottom end was up and filled with water, and some kids come along and they pull the thing, and of course it dips. Pours the water all over whoever it is.
I don't remember that.
Oh, I do. That started the ball rolling, and look what we did.
People started coming after 5 years of making these things. So many people were coming, I sold out to my partner in town, decided to play the rest of my life, and then it exploded. So now we're getting over 17,000 people every year. Last year they signed our guest book from 34 different countries, 32 the year before. So we're seeing people from all over the world. Now you're always going to get China, Germany, places like that, but Kazakhstan, Abu Dhabi, the Ukraine, where would you have a life where they come to you?
Really wonderful, interesting people, really. Yeah, we've had some really unusual people. One lady from Arpin over here, I think she came with her son and her grandchildren, and Clyde did his thing around here, and she was just, it was awful. And she wrote him a letter. And she said, you know, I guess you've got some talent. But and you're funny. But you have ruined my grandchildren's purity. And it is just awful. Well, Clyde wrote her a letter back. He did write a wonderful letter. And when he finished his letter, he said, I hope you will show this to your son. So she wrote back again, and she said, I did show that to my son. And he said, well, Mother, you know, you are a little different. Oh, there's another lady that was upset with us, and she was going to send the authorities. Of course, she never signed the letter, number one. She never put any return address on it either, so we couldn't answer that one. But she was going to get the authorities over here, and she never did, because we hoped they'd come. And we'll show you around. But, you know, he doesn't use any bad language. I know the innuendos, but most kids don't pick up on that unless they're your age.
We get you.
What are you getting?
Throw money around, or you got 2 mosquitoes and a spider, and I'm coming back to get something else.
Okay.
So, with my husband and my grandkids.
You want to expose them to all this?
Absolutely.
You're really weird.
Only if you're here.
So I'm always here.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Travis, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, we loved it. Yeah, we do.
You loved it?
I loved it.
He's weird
Yes, he
too.
does love it.
That's why we loved it so much, because, you know, weirdness, we relate.
Oh, thanks a lot, lady. Love you too.
Well, there was a lady in a wheelchair who had come here, and she had been shown around, and she was having a good time. And Clyde had to leave for a meeting, and when she left, she said to me, tell Clyde that I haven't laughed for several months, and this was so good. It felt so good to laugh. And it's good. It's good for the heart, good for the head. And so you realize that maybe you're doing some good. Yeah. And I pray that. I do. I think that we would not be doing this were it not good Lord, for the good Lord planning it, because we would never have planned to do this. And we had wondered how we would miss the people, he with his clients and me with my patients. And the good Lord says, let me show you. And this happened. We can bring a little joy to some people. That's good. Mm-hmm. That's good. My family is quite artistic. He didn't know. He hadn't had any opportunities. I had every opportunity. I went to a private school, and it's cotillion balls and coming out parties and all that kind of stuff in Boston. This is not anything that he was ever exposed to. My family was very artistic. My dad was an architect, and he used to do watercolors on the weekends, and I'd watch him thinking that I surely didn't have any of that talent. And I didn't discover it really until I was about 35. There were some paints, Artex paints, and they came in a tube with a little ball point on it, you know, and you could paint with that. And, you know, it blossomed from there. It's fun. No, I didn't take any lessons. Sometimes I paint acrylic paintings that I've done. So all of these I've done for out here to be something different. These ornaments are made with Pyrex glass, like oven dishes. 500 in an oven doesn't phase it because it melts at 1550. These are made with a torch. They're made on a lathe. They're colored with alcohol dye, which I put just a drop on and then blow it around with an air hose. So I never know what's going to mix with what. So they're all different. Occasionally I blow some with a tubing instead of just a solid rod. Some are solid, no color. Those will show up on a Christmas tree. These do not because they're light hungry. They need light to look really pretty. So if you want one of these, put them in your window and enjoy it all year. I do make all the beads and the jewelry I have. I make the beads, and what am I going to do with the beads? I'll make jewelry, and I sell the jewelry. I started with glass when I needed buttons for a sweater, and I had sheared the sheep, I had processed the wool, spun the yarn, knit the sweater, and I needed buttons, and I was not going to put plastic buttons on that sweater. So I made them by melting some glass. And sure enough, I had buttons. A wonderful class that I took. It was just a weekend. And it was so much fun and I enjoyed it so much that I had to have a lathe yesterday. And so when we got home, we were looking on the web to see what we could find. Well, to get a small lathe like this, or less, with no chucks, got to have two, was $10,000. Oh, I got a little scowly face. And then Clyde said, well, if I got this bearing and that bearing, did this and this, you would make it for me? And he said, well, and I said, well, if I paid for all the parts that, that you would need, I'll pay for that, and I'll deny you nothing the rest of your life. Well, you're done right now. That was very smart. Keep that one up there. Yeah. So he made it work like a charm.
Nancy's torch burns oxygen and propane. She starts by making sure the glass is aligned. The torch continues to heat the glass. Pyrex glass is very dense and is able to handle the intense heat. She pushes the two ends together so both sides turn at the same time. Whenever she wants to move the glass, she heats up that section. It ends up being a simple process of pushing and pulling. She can tell when it's ready to move by the color. The more the glass is pushed together, the more that section will begin to look like a disc. She works designs into the glass for texture and interest. A final pull creates one end of the piece, and she grabs the other end with a pair of pliers.
I can put a loop on the top and it will hang, and I can either put 24 karat gold and palladium, both of them in suspension. When this is cool, I can paint it on there if I want to, and then I would put it back in the kiln, and when it reaches 1,050 degrees, then the metal is then bonded to the glass, and that's the end of that. It's gold or silver. I love it when my students do it because they do all kinds of things that I wouldn't. They put more lumps in it and do all kinds of things. And I love that. Because then I can plagiarize. Look what you did. Yeah, that's good.
Jurustic Park features some pieces from other Wisconsin artists. The catalpa tree carvings were done by Homer Dane of Baraboo. He has also done work for the Circus World Museum. Inside the Hobbit House, mad creations of Glenn Donovan are displayed. Clyde got serious and told us an amazing story.
When you're going to start, tell me so I get this smile off my face.
It's on then.
Where did you grow up? I'm supposed to grow up?
Where did you live when you were a child?
Well, it started out around Holcomb, Wisconsin. Yeah, little farm, and we were 5 years old. We moved down to Pilla, Iowa. It's a Dutch town down there. My dad was from there. And we were there down there through from kindergarten through 8th grade. And then we moved back up to Wisconsin to that same 40-acre farm where my grandparents, who were farmers, moved from Cadott up there, built another house on that spot. And then my grandfather died, and so we moved back to take care of my grandmother and farm that 40 acres. We bought another 80 acres. And back in Wisconsin, 4 years of high school, I spent helping my dad on the farm. I never fought with my dad, but my gosh, he did the dumbest things. He couldn't build anything without it falling apart. His design of things was horrible, but he gave me a good piece of advice. You got to get out of this, because if you don't get an education, you'll end the rest of your life digging ditches. Well, they didn't have backhoes in those days, so I didn't want to dig ditches. And so I went off to college, first in St. Paul and then out east, just north of Boston. And I was putting myself through 3 more years of college out there. But then there was this cute little student nurse at the hospital. See, I'm a little farm boy. I didn't know any better. So when she was chasing me all over, I just gave in. And that's the best deal I could have ever made. And we moved back. What are we going to do with a degree in philosophy? I could become a lawyer. So I applied to law school, and they turned me down. I said I can talk them into it. So we loaded up my homemade trailer and my wife and a baby of about 9 months. We'd only been married a little over a year then. Got back to Wisconsin. Went to the law school. The only people in law school, this is a week and a half before law school started, was the assistant dean. The assistant dean was there, and he looked down his nose at me. He said, "We can't have you at the school." Why? Because your college was not accredited out in the Midwest. My fellow students were going to Harvard. They were going to Boston University, MIT. This is a very good school, and my grades are good. He says, "I don't care." He says, "You can't get into law school here." He says, "You can write to the dean if you want, but I don't think it'll do you any good." So we went up to my folks' farm to a Holcomb area, and rainy Sunday night, this was Labor Day weekend, a week before school was supposed to start, and I'm out in the barn helping my dad milk. And in walks this guy out of the rain, says, "Can you help me out?" He says, "I'm from Warsaw. I just had been a week with my family on vacation. We're coming home, and the car stopped. And I got an 11-year-old kid and a boy in the bar, and a 13-year-old girl in the car, and my wife." And he says, "What can you do to help me?" I said, "Well, let's go down and look." So we take a flashlight in my car. This is in the days you used to be able to find things under the hood. His fuel pump had missing a whole bolt, and the other one was loose. I said, "You're not going anywhere with that, and my tools are all hidden in the bottom of the trailer. Why don't I just pull you into town?" So I pulled him into town. The wife and the 2 kids stayed in the car, and he and I were standing there. And he says, "I noticed you had Massachusetts plates. What's the story?" I tell him my story of woe. He says, "Maybe I could help." "My name is Herb Terwiller. I'm president-elect of the Wisconsin Bar Association, and I used to room with the dean."
Would you believe it?
Wow.
Would you believe it?
And he said, "Tomorrow's Labor Day, but I'm going to go down and write you a letter to the dean." And he says, "What do I owe you?" I said, "Just write that letter." Well, he must have called, because I got a letter back on that Thursday. Monday was a holiday, so I got a letter from Madison, from the dean of the law school. He says, "You have an interesting story there. If you're still interested, come on down." So that's how I got into law school. Wow. So we left the baby there, went to Madison, found a job for her. I did it. I still worked
I got
part-time.
PhD, putting husband through.
Well, I was working. I was a night watchman at Oscar Mayer's meat plant, and I was working for a while for the big construction company down there, adding oil and gas things at night and checking the trucks out. And so it was a very busy time, and finally got that job up in Marshfield. Well, I got a job with a guy up there, and I worked for 24 years. And the 2 older guys were not producing. The younger guys were producing. This is not working out after 24 years. I'm getting tired of supporting people. So I talked to the attorney for the big clinic here in town. And they said, why don't you check out with the Terwilliger firm, 24-man firm in Wausau. And he said, maybe they have a position for you. So I go up to the Terwilliger firm. Now, this was the guy that helped each other out 27 years before. And they said, yeah, we have a office in Stevens Point. We got one in Wausau, and now we'll have one in Marshfield. So I got there. I worked for 3 years for that same guy in the big firm there, about setting up an office in Marshfield. And after 3 years, I was getting fed up. I went to the head guys in the firm, and I said, something's wrong. See, that kid that was an 11-year-old kid was now in his 40s. He was their big producer in the firm. And I said, that's Tom Terwilliger, and you're paying him twice as much as you're paying me, and I'm earning more money than he is, or producing more money. You know what they said? We can't pay you more. You don't collect as many hours as he does. What's that got to do with it? So I left the firm, and Herb Terwilliger, who 30 years before we'd helped each other out, was so mad he sued me. Well, he had to give it up. They had no case. But that's how that 30 years experience with that.
Wow.
It's really been a terrific journey.
What's your favorite piece?
Oh my gosh, I don't dare have other favorite piece. What would the others think? Problem is, I've been selling over 800 pieces a year. That's too much. And then COVID comes along. Now it's not 800 pieces, it's 1,200 pieces a year. That's way too much. And I want to spend my time not making the little ones, hundreds of them, and medium-sized ones, and concentrate on the bigger ones that I give to the local churches, schools, parks, and that kind of thing. And so I'm cutting way back on that, and then Kohler Corporation comes along. You know, they make all the bathtubs and urinals and that. And they've done a lot for the art communities around. For example, up in Phillips, they got this concrete park up there. Years and years ago, there was a tavern owner. He made life-size horses and people and covered them with broken glass. Well, he died a long time ago. Kohler Corporation comes on and refurbishes everything. Made a nice park. Now they've got a full-time park attendant there. He takes care of everything, and it's a major tourist attraction. They've got a huge museum up in Kohler. Beautiful place. It's free to go through. It's artwork from all over the world. And now they've got another museum. They've finished off the building part, but it's nowhere near full. It's called the Art Preserve Museum. And they're for preserving the artwork of folk artists. So a year and a half ago, in 21, I got a package from Kohler. It's about that big, about that wide, and about that thick. And I thought, why are they sending me iron? Because it was so heavy. I opened it up. It's not iron. It's a book on artwork from all over the world. 375 pages from artwork all over the world. Well, I'm wondering why they sent me that. But there was a letter in there saying, hope you enjoy this. This was from the 3 curators of that new museum for folk art. And then they went on to say, we've been looking at your stuff. Now, they'd never been out here, but they had seen it all over the map. They said, we're really fascinated. Would you be interested in us helping you set that up for when it's moved to the city? And they would move them down there, help move them and build places for them to be and everything.
Ultimately, it will go down to Wildwood Park, south of Marshfield. There is a pavilion there, and then there's an open space, and then there's a pond. And so Clyde's things will go in that open space. Yeah, that's great. We feel quite honored.
And so that's very flattering that have this company think of them as art, and that's not going back to the scrapyard then.
We are thrilled to hear that this collection will be preserved for generations to come. Make sure you check out this unique Wisconsin destination.